You come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding, and you ask me to tell everybody to subscribe to Haven't Seen It podcast on Apple and Spotify, to leave a 5-star review, and to follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Seen It Pod. That is what you think of me? The Godfather coming up next. Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenay. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where at least one of us is watching this movie for the very first time. And today, that is Tommy. He just saw The Godfather for the first time. Tommy, how dare you? You started a movie podcast and you have never seen The Godfather? I mean, what the fuck, dude?
I just never got around to it. I mean, like I saw like Goodfellas when I was in high school, and for a while I was like, it was good. And for some reason, it just kind of felt like one of those things where like it's a 3-hour movie and you have to block off significant time. So one of our friends would always tell us like, "Oh, you gotta watch The Godfather." When I asked for movie recommendations, I was like, "I'm not trying to watch a fucking epic movie right now," which this movie was. It was really good, but it's still. It takes a lot of planning to get around to watch The Godfather in one sitting.
I mean, it does take planning. And I know you were busy this weekend and you put in our group chat, "Oh, Tim's really testing my commitment to the podcast by making me watch The Godfather." I'm like, poor Tommy. Oh, you have to watch The Godfather. No. Oh, woe is me. Oh my God. Do you hear yourself sometimes when you just throw things out into the ether?
I knew immediately what was going on right there, where I was like, I know I'm being just like such a fucking jackass, but it's just like part of me was like, fuck, I have to watch like something for 3 hours, like right before work.
And I didn't roast you in the chat just because I was saving it for this moment. I was like, I wanted you to think, oh, he missed it. Like I gave him a window to take a shot at me, and he didn't go for it. And you know, I noted and I waited. That's what I did.
Yeah. So it was definitely one of those things where like when the movie first started, and like eventually I was like, all right, fuck it, I committed. Timmy would be proud of me. I for the most part have my phone on do not disturb, so I pay attention for the whole movie. I have my multicolored light set up and my sound bar set up, so it was just the full movie experience for me as much as I can make it in my own home, my own little home movie theater setup that I got. So I tried at least. Yeah. I liked it. I like this movie.
Well, I would hope so. Actually, I think it would be really interesting and based if you're just like, nah, fuck this movie. This movie sucks.
If I come in, I'm like 0 out of 5 stars. People are so fucking up their own asses when they're talking about how much this movie's great. Fuck
I mean,
this movie.
you know, there are people out there that do have that take, and I think when you're talking about some of these movies, something like The Godfather, I consider this one of the most iconic movies in American cinema. My top 3 would be The Wizard of Oz, Star Wars, The Godfather. I know you said Jaws, and you could pick a 5th. There's so many, but I think probably Citizen Kane. Like when you're talking from like an auteur, like artist standpoint, maybe not so much for an audience perspective or especially a contemporary audience.
Yeah, like you said, it's just so iconic in that way, where it's just like, this is one of the movies that is known as, when you think of movies, this is one of the first ones you think of, really. So I mean, like, shame on me for taking 28 years of my life to watch it, I guess, but glad I did. So I want to touch upon, you were talking about the 1-star, like people probably hate this movie. You go to IMDb and there's a recent even 1-star review where someone says, against the grain, 1 star out of 10. This movie bored the pants off of me. 1 hour in, it's still clogging along with all the bad camera angles and awful condition errors. Not for me.
I mean, bad camera angles. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy. Really?
You have to wonder if it's trolling.
My mother does not like this movie for one singular reason, which is the best moment in the movie. So that's a teaser. We're going to touch upon it a little bit later when we get to it. But anyway, Here's The Godfather.
The Godfather is now a movie from Paramount, rated R.
I love that so much. It was the only TV spot I could find. I love that in 1972. That was their idea of it. It's just this book was because this book was massive at the time too.
Yeah.
So you have this book, this epic book that I mean has transcended the book. People don't think of the book as much as they do.
The same
The
thing with
movie.
Jaws, because Jaws is like that too. So it's just how some of these classic movies are just based off novels and they just overtook popularity. Because you almost never hear about the Godfather in a novel. Everyone's talking about Brando or Al Pacino and shit.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I never read the book. I know in Jaws, the main change that I've heard because I've never read either of the original books. In Jaws, it was that Dreyfus's character Hooper was cheating on, or not Dreyfus's character
Richard Dreyfuss, yeah,
was cheating with Hooper's wife, and that was like they cut that out because it wasn't needed. What I read, one of the big changes or one of the big cuts is in the book. There's like a chapter devoted to Sonny's dick and how big it is when he has sex. Like there are a lot of comments on how big his penis is.
It's just the whole chapter. Like he had the biggest fucking dick.
If you're into those romantic books, ladies, pick up the Godfather novel. You will be in for a treat.
Are we talking like George R. R. Martin levels of like just his wiener was magnificent?
I have no idea. George R. R. Martin writes like a history writer, not like a novelist, in my opinion. That's how his books kind of come off. But anyway, I think this is a movie that I don't know exactly where to start because it's such a giant. It's a giant. So tell me, you've been told a million times you got to watch The Godfather? What do you mean you haven't seen The Godfather? Like, blah, blah, blah.
It became a thing of contrarian at a certain point where I was like,
of course,
fuck.
Of course.
Yeah.
Did it live up to the hype? Is the first question.
It did live up. It did live up to the hype. I wouldn't say it's my favorite mob movie of all time, which almost feels sacrilegious to say.
No, it's not my favorite mob. My favorite movie of all time is Goodfellas. I would assume that's the one you're referring to.
Yeah, Goodfellas. I even said this in our friends group chat the other day, but this movie was good. But Goodfellas, I thought was a lot better. For Goodfellas, I felt it was a more tightly constructed movie. But not to compare the different movies, but with Godfather, there's some parts in this movie that I felt kind of honestly dragged on a little bit. Like I didn't need so many scenes of just like almost too much backstory. We could have worked almost a little. If this was made today, it'd be a miniseries,
Yeah, but I disagree with you because I think you need the backstory because I've seen this movie 5-6 times at this point, and each time I watch it, I forget parts and I pick up on part of that. But like your first viewing, you're like, it's an overwhelming amount of information in this movie to kind of pick up the mob wars, what's going on with all these characters, because you get 4 or 5 focal points. It's a really interesting movie to kind of talk about 50 years later, because this is the 50th anniversary. And when we're comparing it to a movie like Goodfellas, I know they're both mobster movies. I don't even consider them the same genre of mobster movie. Goodfellas was almost like the response to The Godfather.
The Godfather, yeah.
Goodfellas was, this is actually what the mob's like. The Godfather is what people imagine, that fantasy life of being in it. Because in this movie, there's death, obviously, but it's not as, dramatic or not dramatic's the wrong word. It's not as unbearably sad towards the end and with no way out. And maybe it's just because the age it was taking place in. And obviously that's part of part 2 is where they dive into that much more. But even The Sopranos, this movie's legacy is...
In some ways, this movie was more of like a part 1. Obviously, I mean, the Godfather part 1, but it's just really the beginning of it. We don't really see the rise and fall. And honestly, in some ways, I feel like my review is almost incomplete because I haven't seen The Godfather 2. I mean, would you say that I really like, or do you think that I can just get a full picture of everything?
I think the story stands alone because part 2 is... it focuses on the rise of Don Corleone and the fall of Michael Corleone, and they intersect in that
The
regard.
two.
This is a single story. This is this one tale where that has two different things going on. And I mean they're both fantastic movies. I know there's a cut of the two in order, so it starts with the De Niro scenes in Godfather 2,
Mhm.
cuts to present day in Godfather 1, and then ends with the Michael Corleone scenes in Godfather 2. I'm not sure if
So
they added 3 in, but we don't need to worry about it.
yeah, three is a whole other thing that I'm probably not going to watch, which would you probably say would be the best. But anyways, so in that way, like kind of the bookend, if this movie was the only one, if Godfather 2 never happened, in some ways, the ending of this movie would have been one of the all-time like what if endings. Like, what do you think really happened to Michael Corleone there? And even me, not seeing the second one yet, I mean, I know a little bit of what happened. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, he takes over like family control, but it's like how corrupt would he have been, or like how many people does he kill, or whatever. Like, how does he is he more noble like his father somewhat, or is he just like a piece of shit? It kind of leads like an open ending question, which really is why they made a sequel because you want those questions answered.
Yeah. Well, so I think one of the things that I really noticed this time around, and it is about Michael Corleone, is an Al Pacino. Al Pacino is so known for his like hoo-wah and just his like
Mhm.
zaniness and that energy. He is so stoic and reserved and in control in this movie. It's
It
crazy.
shocked me. Yeah,
Yeah, it's shocking how different a performance this is from what you would consider an Al Pacino performance.
the
He's one of his greatest
stereotypical.
performances, and you know he's got a she's got a great ass. Like that's his most famous line. This
Yeah,
movie it's so different. It almost stands out from the rest of his filmography. I haven't seen everything he's done, but from his bigger, well-known things,
well, does he eventually like get into that more in Godfather 2 where he's shouting a little bit more at least, or
I mean, he yells a little bit more, but it's
still not the same?
controlled. It's controlled. I think this movie cements Pacino's legacy because I think he's got some really great movies in there, but he's also got his fair share of stinkers. Like
To be honest, I
in
was
his prime, I'm talking about. When you compare it to De Niro was on a heater until all his restaurants in Soho flopped and he had to just start making as much shit as he possibly could to just make some money. No,
I'll
that
be honest. I was thinking about this is only the third Pacino movie I've watched actually all the way through.
what are the other two?
Um, well, maybe four because I've seen Insomnia with Christopher Nolan. That
Mhm.
one, great movie. I've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and
That's
I've seen
yeah,
um,
that classic Al Pacino film.
I've seen Ocean's 13. Okay, I've seen that. I don't even remember anything about that though. And
It's
I've
the same as
seen
11.
uh, what's it called? The Irishman and this now. So I mean, I still haven't seen a lot of things, but I mean, like in the pop culture osmosis way, that like Al Pacino is really known just being the loud, aggressive guy. So when I saw this movie, I was expecting to be more in that role. I didn't. I was kind of shocked at the beginning of the movie that Michael Corleone was kind of more, very much differently from his family, and James Caan took over the role of being the more shouty, angry type here.
And
Which
James Caan is fantastic too.
yeah,
In this movie, to move on to Sonny, the arrogance and the attitude, he just has it in spades. He just carries it so well, and it leads to his own death that is portrayed by his sister's husband, that who Carlo, um, which is leads to the great ending of the movie. I think what's interesting, like you just kind of touched upon it, and this is I've only pulled one clip because I could pull a million from this movie, but this was the scene that really stood out to me. It's from when Michael and Vito are having a conversation in the backyard. Michael has fully taken over the role of Don, and and Vito tells him what he wishes could have happened to him.
And I never wanted this for you. I worked my whole life I don't apologize to take care of my family. And I refused to be a fool. Dancing on the string held by all those big shots. I don't apologize, that's my life, but I thought that... But when it was your time, that you would be the one to hold the strings. Senator Corleone. Governor Corleone, something.
Another pezzo 90.
Oh. This wasn't enough time, Michael. Wasn't enough time.
We'll get there, Pop. We'll get there.
So that, I think that's just interesting. It's obviously much later in the movie, but it shows Vito's true motivations, and you even see it when, after they have the assassination of who, Solanzo, in the famous scene in Louis' restaurant where he assassinates them and he fully commits to the mob and he has to retreat to Italy.
There's one thing I want to touch upon this movie that I was kind of shocked at how much of it worked as just a thriller in general, where in that scene that you just mentioned right there of Louis' restaurant, where it's just like the whole entire time when I was watching this movie, I was like, holy crap, like, is this going to happen? Is Al Pacino really going to kill these two people? Or is, because the movie really builds it up in a way that you kind of probably forget a little bit on rewatch, but they really build up in a way of, they take the time to measure it. They make them like talk about the gun, like, here's how you fire a gun. There's really characters talking about it for a while, and they really let the scenes breathe, where you just think the whole entire time for like 20 or 30 minutes stretch of the movie where you're thinking, is Michael Corleone going to go down this path and start killing people? And that whole scene is just insane. And the violence of this movie also, just like that whole scene when Louis gets shot right there, and the shot at the Louis, and the police officer gets fucking his McCluskey, he gets the fucking bullet through his neck, and you can hear him choking on his goddamn blood. And it's like, whoa, did not expect this out of the Godfather. I knew it was violent, but not that violent.
Well, I think what's interesting about the violence in this movie is that it's reserved for very little moments, but when it's there, it's real.
Yeah, they don't hold back.
Which I think is credit to Francis Ford Coppola, because from what I've read, he initially didn't want to do this because he read the book. He thought it was kind of sleazy and just beneath him. Paramount convinced him, where I think it was you do this, I scratch your back, you scratch my back, we think you're the perfect fit for this. But I also think, and I think for a lot of people who rewatch this movie maybe yearly, like that tension wasn't there for me, because I'm just like, oh, it's coming. Oh my God, this is coming. That was my mentality of like, the scene is so great. Like, it's so powerful. I missed the tension in that buildup. And like, obviously I noted, the scene with him and Clemenza, with Michael and Clemenza firing the pistol, building it up. Where are they going to hide it? What restaurant are they going to? The fake out to New Jersey to lose the Corleone tails on the car. It's so masterfully built up. You said that you could have cut a little bit here or there. I think I disagree. I don't think you can really trim this movie, because I think the pacing of it is perfect, because it felt like it was 6 hours and it felt like it was 1 hour all at once to me watching this movie. I just get engrossed. Like, I just sink into my couch, and I'm like, I could sit here for 6 hours. I could sit here for an hour. It doesn't matter to me. That's powerful.
This is definitely something I'm going to notice on a rewatch, because I definitely am going to rewatch this movie. My first watch of it, I'll admit, it was not in the best of circumstances, where I've been working in the middle of a huge stretch of and shows and stuff like that, and then I was in the middle of I was like, okay, this is my one time off, so my mind probably wasn't immediately fully there for some scenes. Like the at least scenes for me kind of stretched down a little bit, but maybe I need to be in a better environment, so I'll say that. But in some ways, maybe in a rewatch I'll be cut a little bit better, but first watch is kind of like, okay, I don't need this part right here.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think you could say the one thing that stuck out to me, not as like a red flag, but as a kind of like, what the hell's going on here, is Michael marries the Italian broad, and then he comes back and he finds Kay. He finds Diane Keaton, who it's so like, watching her. One, she's great, but two, she's so young in this movie. It is like I picture her in Something's Gotta Give. That's forever embezzled in my brain. The the picture of Diane Keaton I will forever have. Looking at her, she is so young in this movie, and I know
She's only
it's
like what, like in her early 20s at this point.
yeah, something like that. And I know they touch more on Kay's perspective in Godfather 2. I do wish that we got a little bit more of it in this one, because when Michael just kind of shows up at her school and just tells her he's back and it's time, let's get back together. Probably not even mentioning that he was married once before.
Yeah. That part of the movie felt a little bit rushed because it was literally just he met her at the school and then they're back together. So it's just like, you have to ask so many questions of this. Like, how much did Kay know about what happened to Michael, about where he went for a little bit? I mean,
Yeah.
I know they had the whole scene of him telling her, like, go to New Hampshire, stay with your parents.
And that's
Get out of
early.
here.
That's when that's still when it's like post-war. I can't remember what the years are, but years pass in this movie. Like when Michael's in Italy, that's about a full year. And then then we get the cut to him picking up Kay pretty much seamlessly. Or no, she shows up at the house after, I can't remember exactly what order it is, but it's very close after that. And he says he's been back for a year. So 2 years have at least passed since, like, in that very short duration.
If anything, it would have made more sense for the movie to have more scenes of them breathing, because the end of the movie kind of hinges on him lying to her,
Oh yeah, I mean, we could just talk about that ending and that look out the door, and then just the door shutting, cut to black with Kay looking at her.
It's that's why I said the movie ends perfectly for a sequel, because you see that and you want to know what happens next. Where does Michael Corleone go from there? It's just like, and kind of the almost ambiguous ending that unfortunately is not ambiguous anymore, because we have 2 Godfather sequels after this.
Yeah, my Godfather 2, it's been like probably 5 years since I've seen Godfather 2, so it's definitely rusty in that regard. I think I might watch it again this week. Tommy, you have to wait about a year to watch Godfather 2 because spoiler, we're probably going to do Godfather 2 at some point if you haven't seen it.
Eventually. Yeah.
Eventually we're going to do Godfather 2. So I just that ending is so goddamn good.
Yeah.
Oh,
because it was one of those things where, like, you it's like literally the hinges on the movie, where it's just like, that's where you know that Michael's become like fully corrupt and fully just like in the world of his family.
Yeah,
So,
and she just sees that limited window, and her just being, did he just straight up look at me in the eye and lie to me? And I believed him. And that doubt it does run its course in Godfather 2. No spoilers, but that is definitely part of her story.
they touch upon it. Yeah.
Not so much that specific moment, but just everything in that movie. And I mean, we haven't even talked about the man. We haven't even talked about Brando, the guy I wish just had Instagram and just could go, like, pop up and do some live stories, because he is just the weirdest human on the face of the planet.
Could you imagine Brando of Twitter, like the crazy shit that would have been tweeted at 2 a.m. that this fucker would have been saying?
oh my God. Brando is so fortunate that he was before social media. Oh my God. Like,
he would have been canceled like every day.
Oh, I'm not even talking about cancel. He would have been like, I see him somewhat similar to Shia LaBeouf, where it's just like, what the hell is going on here?
Some of the stories of Brando in general were like, he was filming that movie of Frank Oz, and he kept on calling Frank Oz fucking Miss Piggy. He's like, why don't you fuck off, Miss Piggy? For those of you who don't know, Frank Oz is the voice of Miss Piggy.
And Yoda. I mean, I love Brando because I never met him. I think if I met him, I would probably hate him. He's probably the most interesting person to ever be in Hollywood. He's so talented. You see it on the screen. Compare it to him in A Streetcar Named Desire to this. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I've seen that.
He is so goddamn good, and that's when he's young, handsome, and he's not that much older. This is roughly 20 years later. I know there's a lot of makeup on his
40s or 50s or something.
There's a lot of makeup on his face in this for sure.
Yeah.
But I think what's the one story that the cat in the iconic opening, he found that on the lot and just carried it into the set, and it's just like, yep, we're going to have a cat.
He had that kind of power. Like when he was making the Island of Dr. Monroe, and he just wanted to wear a bucket on his head because he was like, it's for the character. And the director was like, I can't say no to Brando.
Well, what's the other? I know from one of the other big things on the production was that he didn't like learning his lines. He wanted to just have like a natural flow and think, and you feel it in Vito's performance where a lot of the that kind of sound.
The pauses help because he is apparently just like reading off cue cards
Yeah,
during the
but
making of this movie.
like when they're doing like when they're doing the reverse shoulder shot where it's
Yeah.
Brando looking, or from another character's perspective looking
Yeah,
at
yeah,
that
it's the
that
back of
character.
Brando's head.
Yeah, or no, other way, back of, let's say, Clemenza's head, talking
Okay, yeah, yeah.
to Vito. He would just like, they would have the cue card taped to his stomach, and he would just work off of that. I could not imagine working with Marlon Brando. He must have been the biggest pain in the ass. One of the great divas of all time. I personally love divas. People tell me I'm crazy, especially in sports. They're great. They're so good. I don't deal
You
with these
just like the
people.
drama.
I don't even like the drama. I just like that they piss people off. They just annoy people to their core. They hate these people. They never met them. You don't know this person. It's all a bunch of hearsay.
I mean, Brando's the kind of type of guy that, like, literally for Superman, he like showed up like last minute and just like didn't give a fuck throughout the whole movie.
And an Apocalypse Now, one of the more infamous productions ever. Apparently, he was as bad as a person could possibly be on that set.
I guess the forebear, not in terms of talent, but in terms of dickery, is Jared Leto of today. I'm not saying here that Jared Leto is close to Marlon Brando in terms of talent, but like you hear lately about like Morbius. On the set of Morbius, Jared Leto would pretend to be crippled so people can lug him around to the bathroom, and eventually he was holding up production so much that staff would wheelchair him to the fucking bathroom so he could go, even though he could walk perfectly fine.
And I love I think I saw one that was like Robert Pattinson was just like, people only like to method act so they can be assholes without having anything in there. Because I'm Jared
It's
Leto.
for the character.
Yeah. Oh, it's for the character. It's like, you're just an asshole. If you're an actor, you could just do it.
Like, sorry, Jared Leto, mailing dead rats to your coworkers is not a fucking fun thing to do.
Jared Leto, what an asshole.
So that's another tangent for another day. But yeah.
Worst Joker of all time.
Easily.
Well, speaking of the Joker, and obviously you have not seen part 2, that is one of 3 awards that the same character played by different actors has been, or actresses now, has been portrayed on the screen. This was the first, and I think probably the most impressive when you think about it's in sequence. It's the same story, it's the same universe, it's 3 years apart. It's not 2 different Batman movies provide different Jokers, and 2 West Side Story adaptations provide 2 different best supporting actresses, where not discrediting any of their performances, because some of those performances are some of the greatest performances
it's impressive
ever put on.
It's literally, yeah, it's impressive that's within like literally the sequel to the next movie, that literally De Niro, for those of you who don't know, we're talking about De Niro and Brando both won the award for playing Vito Corleone. De Niro, obviously the younger version.
I like that you had to clarify for an audience that has, you're the only person on the earth that has not seen this movie, Tommy.
I'm assuming that there's some person that probably fucking didn't know what you're talking about. So
well, we'll find. Tell us on Twitter if you know. Let us know if Tommy was right. Tell me I'm wrong. I want to know. You weren't. It's okay though, sweetheart. It's okay.
No. Definitely, I was right. So, but yeah.
I found also on this watch for me, because this is obviously like 4th or 5th watch or 6th, whatever the hell watch it is. I found the war between the 5 families towards the end to be more captivating and more pulling in, and how they were really trying to push the Corleone family out, because the Corleones were very clearly the dominant family of those 5 in New York, with the political influence and the judicial system influence. That was why he tried to get it. That's why Solanza tried to assassinate him in the beginning of the movie. That kind of kicks the story off. And that's why at the end, Abe Vigoda's character, Sal, betrays the Corleones. I love that scene too, between him and Duvall, where he just looks at Duvall and be like, could you help me out? For old time's sake. It's like, And I don't think I could, because they were selling out Michael to have him assassinated and be like, oh, it's on friendly territory. There's not a problem in the world.
It's one of those things. Like I said earlier, that this movie was so much of a good thriller that like the whole entire main arching like of the five family war things was so compelling. Where in the beginning of the movie, when Vito Corleone gets shot, I literally like was said out loud like, "Fuck!" Like Brando's already dead in this movie. It's only an hour in, because I was maybe like an hour or maybe even like 40 minutes into the movie.
It's about the 40-minute mark.
Yeah, so like I was just like the whole time like, fuck, like I can't believe that this iconic performance and this iconic like fucking character that I've known for years just through cultural osmosis dies 40 minutes in this movie. And it's like, wait, he's alive? And then just like all the different twists and turns that happen where it's just like, I did not expect this much out of The Godfather. I mean, I expected it to be fucking great movie, don't get me wrong. I just expected it to be a compelling thriller or a good thriller rather.
What did you think of the performances in this movie? Did you think, I think Spielberg has said that this was the greatest ensemble of all time. You could even see it when he was
That
at
was
the
Kubrick.
Was that Kubrick who said it? Okay. Semantics. But I mean, okay, on Spielberg at the Oscars this year, they had the 50th anniversary, which I was a little disappointed because I thought they could have wheeled out half the cast because there's still a lot of them are still alive, and they only had De Niro and Pacino.
And De Niro's not even in the first one.
Yeah. It's like you could have rolled out James Caan, Duvall. You could have rolled out Diane Keaton out there. Like if De Niro was there with everybody, I would have been okay with it. But I thought it was very powerful to see a man like Steven Spielberg, who is just as well regarded, one of the greatest directors of all time, sitting at the Academy Awards with his cell phone out, taking a picture of De Niro, Francis Ford Coppola, and Pacino on the stage. I thought that was one of those little things. I was like, that's pretty adorable. That man is almost awestruck at seeing those three reunited on that stage. It speaks to the power of the movie.
Yeah, it's crazy to think like, I mean, granted that was like within Spielberg's like generation of filmmakers, because George Lucas fucking worked on this movie.
Yeah, a lot of guys worked on this movie. It's
George Lucas is what, the assistant editor?
I hope not for the movie. I would assume not, based on his credentials as an editor.
Well, there was some things in the production that like basically George Lucas helped out with.
I could see him doing like a B reel or C reel, C reel directing.
So this is I pulled it up. I timed it perfectly. I pulled it up perfectly. So according to IMDb, so don't know if that's accurate or not, but George Lucas put together the mattress sequence. So it was like the montage of the crime scene photos.
Yeah,
and the headlines
that sounds
of the
about
war
right.
between the
that
five families.
Right for
So he did
cool.
that.
That's cool though. It's a cool little thing that you wouldn't have known except for IMDb.
And it was a little favor because Coppola helped him out with American Graffiti.
I think for TH 1138, that like his sci-fi film, he helped him out with that as well. From what I read, he was like an assistant director or something on that production. But I want to touch upon.
Well, Lucas, just the final part on Lucas. Lucas pretty much just like practically like convinced Coppola to be like, hey, like you should do this movie. Because Coppola didn't want to do this movie. He thought, like you said earlier, like it was just like trash or whatever, just kind of too graphic and stuff. And George Lucas told him to convince the job because he said, hey, Francis Ford Coppola, your production company owes $600K to Warner Brothers. So you should take this movie. Yeah. He was like, oh, fuck, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, thank God Francis Ford Coppola did, because I mean, Francis Ford Coppola has his big three. He's got the two Godfathers and Apocalypse Now. And the rest of his filmography, while there's good movies in there, is not as.
The funny thing is, this isn't the first Francis Ford Coppola film I've seen, and it's none of the three that you just
What's
mentioned.
the other one you've seen? It's some crappy horror movie he made in like the 2000s.
No. It's not that. It's I actually really like this movie a lot. It's called Peggy Sue Got Married, and with Kathleen Turner and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Fun little time travel movie, but I've seen it twice. So I've seen that movie twice before I've seen The Godfather.
Well, did you see anything like stylistically that you can remember from Peggy Sue that kind of compares to this movie? Or was this just completely different and like directing wise?
It was directing wise, it's completely different because Peggy Sue Got Married is kind of like a fun romantic comedy type thing. So I mean, like I guess maybe like overarching like sweeping shots of like that. Peggy Sue has like big sweeping shots of like them at their like 25th anniversary, high school anniversary. So in some ways, I guess in terms of like cinematography wise, like, and Sofia Coppola is also in the movie too. So
Of course it is.
another
I
trademark.
forgot we are referring to Sofia Coppola's father. That's what he's famous for.
She was born during the production of this movie, apparently.
Interesting. Well, I want to touch upon the thing I teased earlier, what I consider to be the most iconic shot or sequence in the movie, and it is the baptism scene. And that my mother does not like this movie. She is a religious person. She does not like how sacrilege that scene is, which is the point. I tell her every time the movie's on. But I had the movie on, and
Your mom's too stuck in her ways where she's like, oh no, like
no, I mean, listen, if you asked her, is The Godfather like a great movie, she will of course say yes. Just her personal taste would say like, I don't like that part, which is the climax of the movie, and it's so well done. Do you reject Satan and all his works? And the killings start happening of all the bosses. Oh, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. I don't think they could ever make a movie like this again. And I think the fact that it's a one shot, you said like this would be a mini series today. I don't think this has the same impact as a mini series as it does as.
What's weird things with the length that like Coppola originally wanted to have an intermission in the middle of this movie, which honestly I'm all for. Bring back the intermission to movies.
Oh my god, intermissions need to be especially in superhero movies that are. I'm looking at you, Endgame, that are 3 hours and 11 minutes long. Like, just put a 5-minute intermission in there. My god, man.
I'm with you. I saw the Hateful Eight when they did the Roadshow thing, which added like about like a few more minutes of footage, and Tarantino put in for the Roadshow version of it an intermission for the Hateful Eight in the middle of it. And it was the greatest thing because we were all like, "Fuck!" Like we all really need to pee. And
you know what movie needed an intermission because we saw it in theaters. Unfortunately, The Irishman. That movie needed it. That movie movie's about a half an hour longer than this one, and this is a long movie.
Oh god, no! And that's why that movie, like, you saw that graphic on Instagram that was like people like here to watch how you watch The Irishman in parts, and just like told you the exact timestamps and shit. Because just honestly, like fuck, like thriller movies, I don't have a problem with them, but like if I'm seeing them in the theater, I don't want to go to the bathroom. So it's just like
then you're just sitting.
Come on, give me a break.
Stuck.
Sitting there stuck, and you just think about how much you have to pee the whole fucking movie.
Yeah, it's one of the. This movie could use an intermission. I mean, it doesn't really matter now because odds are if you're watching this movie, you're watching it at home on a streaming service,
and you can pause it.
But man, this movie could have used an intermission.
I am a star. I'm a star. I'm a star. I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
So I want to break this part into two different categories because it's such a big cast.
Okay.
Brando or Pacino, then the secondary characters, your Duvals, your Khan, and then your third tier characters, kind of like your Clemenzas, your little character actors that are in there. So let's just start because there's two leads. It's Pacino and Brando. Who won the movie between the two of them?
I'd say Brando because Brando, honestly, I mean, like when you think about it, Brando's not in the movie as much as you think. He's only in the movie for about an hour total of screen time. So with that, though, he's the thing that people remember the most about this movie. Literally, one of the alternate posters of this is just Brando in his like suit and tux and whatever. The fact that like, this character has been lampooning pop culture so much. I mean, like I remember knowing about the Godfathers because of a Rugrats movie when I was a little kid, because they had a scene of the kids acting out like on the day of my daughter's wedding thing. And just from pop culture osmosis, Brando, I think, really is the thing people remember about this movie.
I think what's interesting, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but this is what I'm picking up from what you're telling me about your experience of it, because you probably experienced a good amount of this movie through pop culture osmosis without maybe even understanding it's The Godfather, but not understanding the context. But it feels like that didn't ruin the movie, where I think we've talked about some other movies where you felt I would have probably preferred it if I had seen this version first. Seeing this movie after it being parody, we're not going to dig up Dune, but you said,
No. I'll just like, for example, like real quick, like I don't want to watch The Sixth Sense because I've never seen it, but I know the twist, and I feel like the movie's ruined for me because of that. But in this sense, like, there's the one very iconic scene in this movie that we didn't really touch upon yet. The scene where the Hollywood producer wakes up in the bed with the fucking horse, the horse head of his prize stallion. We didn't touch upon this, but even though I knew that was coming, and I knew what was in that bed, the whole entire time I was like, oh my God, like, fuck. Like, I was thinking, like, I wish I didn't know this part right here, because it would have been even that much more intense, where you're just thinking, holy fuck, like, what's in that bed? Because that's the way the film's supposed to be set up. And still then, even though I knew that, it was still like the music just made me so uneasy right there. The score just hit like a crescendo where it's just like, oh my God, it's just like, even then, even though I knew it was fucking Horsehead, I was still like, oh fuck, like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I agree with you. We were going to talk about it more. I just want to touch upon it's very clearly Brando. It's such an iconic performance. I mean, I did the voice as the opening. I've done it a couple times. Tommy, how is my Brando voice? Do you think it's okay? Good? One,
you get like a C plus.
That's fair. I'm not an impressionist. Passable enough to not be terrible.
I think our listeners would know what you're going for if I get into the Godfather episode.
So it's obviously Brando. You have to tip your cap, because we mentioned it before, but on Pacino, it's so different from the breadth of his work, and it's maybe the most iconic movie he's done, which is saying something because he has a lot of iconic movies in his filmography. It's so reserved, and it's so dominant, and it's so forceful, and it changes from, he doesn't show that until the scene at Louis, until where he commits to it, and you see that change, and it's so good. It's so subtle the way it changes. It's a really fantastic performance. It's 1A, 1B. Let's move on to our second tiers, because we were just talking about, maybe one of the most famous scenes in the movie with the horse's head. And that is set up by Robert Duvall, who's flying out to help Johnny Fontaine, aka Frank Sinatra, to get him a movie role with this Hollywood producer. Duvall blew me away this viewing. I knew he was great. It's you can say everything's great about this movie. It was the standout performance to me. Again, watching it again for a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever time.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that, like, the whole Duvall going to Las Vegas scene could have been LA. Easily cut. I mean, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but I mean, it could have been cut, but it ended up being one of the most famous and probably best parts of the movie. Just this little tangent of how you literally see a character say, like, okay, like, Robert Duvall, you're going to go down to Los Angeles and talk to get Johnny this role, which, ironically enough, just to touch upon, that's how the actor who played Johnny Al Martino kept his role in The Godfather, because he had mob connections. And they're like, okay, like, Francis Ford Coppola, like, don't recast this, because he wanted to cast Frankie Avalon. But anyways, Robert Duvall in that scene is just so compelling. He's like, my boss is the type that wants to hear news immediately. Probably one of my favorite parts.
I disagree with you, because that scene happens and it's isolated. It could be its own little movie. It could be its own little 10-minute movie.
Yeah.
You need that scene because you have the wedding, which we didn't really touch upon, but I mean, it's the wedding. You know what it is. It's so goddamn good. You see these people begging the Godfather for these requests, the respect, the power he gives off, and then they show that power in action, and he doesn't lift a finger. That is power. You need that, because then you have the drugs coming in, the narcotics. With Solanza, you need to show him being powerful. You need to show his might, why he is so revered and feared, why he has all these connections.
What it is essentially is like an exposition scene. And I'm not saying I hate the scene. I like the scene. It was my favorite part of the movie. But it was one of those things that, like, it could have easily been a thing in a lesser movie where they would have, like, cut that very like, short, and, like, just would have made it just like a very quick, like, tangent or montage of, like, here's the fucked up things that Brando did, but they let it breathe. And I think the movie fucking was.
What do you mean it by exposition? Because I mean, I guess you could say it's exposition to show his power, but it's all show, don't tell. There is nothing about that is telling you what is going to happen here. It is.
Well, I'm saying the scene itself is expositionary, over just pretty much sets you in the plot or whatever, just of the world of, like, okay, we're gonna show you why they like, are feared.
Tommy, I don't know if you know what exposition is. You defined exposition perfectly when we were discussing Dune, where it's just things being related to you. That is all show. There is no real tell in it. It is Johnny Fontaine has this problem.
Well, okay. Sorry, I fucked up. This is world
Yeah,
building.
it
Is
will,
what
and
this
it's
is.
character development for the family.
Yeah,
You need to see the power
yeah.
because you see him get shot 20 minutes later. You need to understand how powerful he is, and it's really important. And him not lifting a finger says more, in my opinion, than having him fly out there and having Brando do it. No, having Duvall do it. And he's so good, and he has that reserve Irishman, knowing that he's a part of the family, but that little just, I'm a part of the family, but I'm not Sicilian. I'm not the blood, and the blood matters in this universe. Um, Also, just to touch on it, James Caan, we mentioned him before. I would put Duvall over Caan in this, maybe because Duvall has more screen time. I mean, you're picking apples and oranges here.
Khan hated this movie because Khan did not like this movie at first because they cut out like 48 minutes of his fucking screen time.
I love James Caan because James Caan is just on Twitter now, just tweeting out his like Angry Birds high scores, and every story about James Caan is how big of a prick he is pretty much his entire career. Like even Elf, all the way up to Elf, he hated the production. Everything I hear about James Caan is he just hated the production of it. But now he's just he's just a grumpy guy on Twitter, and he didn't go the James Woods route of like, tanking your career for politics. He just tweets out Angry Birds high scores, and I tip my cap to you, James Caan.
And how he ends every tweet with
end of tweet. Oh yeah. How did I forgot.
Yeah,
that's my fault.
It's the best part of his Twitter presence.
Yeah. And also to touch on it, Abe Vigoda was fantastic in this. Richard Castellano as Clemenza. I love that there's just a big fat guy in the mob.
So I loved his performance in the movie, but his most famous line, the take the cannoli,
leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Leave the gun. The whole scene, I was confused for a minute because I was like, wait, is like this where he dies? Like I thought that because they're building up to that. You probably might have not remember that like on like certain rewatches, but they really built up to it to think that Clemenza is the one that's going to die right there. And it's another way of like Francis Ford Coppola just knowing how to deceive us in a way where just like build up the suspense where it's just like, okay, well, who's dying?
Honestly, talking about The Godfather, it makes me want to read the book and see, because he called it sleazy, and I would say this movie hides the sleaze really well. It's there, but it's elevated. Like we compared it to Goodfellas versus The Godfather. This is it seems very classy, the mob. It became almost inspirational to get to it because this is the world that they live in. This is what a lot of Americans assumed the mob to be. I want to see what Coppola found in the book, and it's probably the scene about Sonny's penis. They want to what he found to be really that sleazy, what was cut, what wasn't cut. It's also like 700 pages, book from the 70s, so I don't know if I'm actually going to read it, but
he wanted to like cut the whole horse hunting cutoff scene, but he realized that he couldn't because he's like, this is one of the most iconic scenes of the book.
It also, as you said, it shows his power. Like you need that scene.
Yeah, you need that scene
so that you're not like, was this guy just on the way out anyway? No. He was still very powerful here, and this would be a lot different if he was not assassinated or attempted to be assassinated.
Last tangent I want to go off just on the horse head because so much things we could talk about from that. Apparently during rehearsals it was a fake horse head, and then during the actual filming of it they put in a real horse head, and the urban legend is that the actor in that scene was actually screaming for real because he didn't expect a fucking real horse head.
Actually, that's funny because I thought his screams were the worst part of the worst performance in the entire movie. He was great up to that point. I snicker when there's bad high acting. I always laugh when it came out of me. I was just I couldn't stop laughing. And not that it was bad, it was just so like it was campy, so campy in a movie that's not campy at all. It felt like it was out of Evil Dead.
yeah something like campy ass horror movie where it's just like, what?
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Okay. Wow, so, this bit doesn't really work here, huh?
Yeah, so does this movie work as a Muppet adaptation? I'm going with no. This
I
movie's
mean,
too
obviously
serious.
it doesn't work as a Muppet adaptation, but god damn it, do I want to see them try.
Kermit would have to be Vito, probably. Or
No, you have to keep one.
yeah.
You keep one human. You keep one human.
So it was Brando the human.
No, I think it's Pacino. Or you keep Clemenza, and everybody else is a Muppet. Just for leave the gun, take the cannolis. That's the only reason we would keep Clemenza as the human.
Fozzie is obviously Johnny the singer.
Fozzie would be the singer. Kermit would be Vito.
Yeah.
Who would be maybe Sam the Eagle would be Michael. Sonny. No, Sonny. Sam. They would be Sonny.
No, I was gonna say Sonny or Robert Duvall.
Yeah. Well, I know. I'm trying to. Then who would be Michael? Because maybe Kermit's Michael.
No. Michael's like the new one from the.
No, we're not
movie.
talking about that. Even though I like that movie, even though I know it's good. It's good, but he's not. You can't even remember his name. No.
Well, then what's Kermit's nephew then?
Yeah,
Robin?
yeah. No, you know who would be? No. Kermit is Michael, and you have Waldorf be Vito. Yeah, that's how that would work.
That'd be great.
So again, hit us up. We're just bringing the Muppets back to relevance, and nobody seems to care. So
Come on, Disney, throw some of that Muppet money.
Throw us some of that Muppet money. But anyway, Tommy, review time. It's time for the show.
All right. So I feel a little sacrilegious right here because I'm not giving this a full 5 out of 5 stars. It feels very much sacrilegious for us. Like, come on. But that being said, I did love this movie. This movie is one of the greatest movies of all time for a reason, and known as that. I just wish that maybe this will improve on a rewatch and it'll become a 5 out of 5. But some of the scenes in Italy for me kind of felt like they dragged on a little bit, maybe a little bit. So that's the one part of the movie where I have a little bit of criticism. So for that, I can't really call it a 5 out of 5 for me, because I need to be a movie where I just constantly engaged and constantly just loved it throughout. But the acting, cinematography, I mean, so many things you've heard before about this movie, and the fact that like it was engaging almost throughout, except for a little portion flat. So for this, I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 5. Really like this movie. Just I'm gonna watch it again. So maybe my rating will improve next time.
So yeah, I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5. It's a landmark American movie. It's one of the most iconic movies ever made. Everything down from the direction, the performances, to the costumes, to the sets, to the sound design, everything about it is perfect. Could you trim out a little bit of Italy? Maybe, but I think Italy is a pretty tight story. Like I don't think there's fat on the story that they tell, and it's not as much time as you think it is. It's just, and your first viewing, it feels almost out of place, but it's all about Michael's progression and where some of the anger, I think, comes from his wife dying. That you kind of see fun-loving Michael in Italy when he doesn't have to be involved in the mob, and he doesn't have to be involved in that. And when his wife dies, you see the real stark change. To me, that's what that sequence indicates, and that's why it's important. It's a 5 out of 5. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. Last week on The Sandlot, I said in 50 years, people will probably still be watching The Sandlot. That may be true. In 100 years, people will still be talking about this movie.
This is one of the movies that people are going to talk about for like the end of the time. So I maybe I'm being a little nitpicky, but that's why I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. But I'm excited to see this movie again, see if my opinion changes.
That's The Godfather. Tommy, do you have any final words, any final thoughts on The Godfather?
So really excited to see Godfather
in a year.
2. Check out that episode in a year. But otherwise, follow us on social media at Seen It Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and also give us 5 stars when you listen. So thanks, guys.
Thank you all very much for listening. We're going to come back in a week, and we're going to come out with Basic Instinct. We'll talk to you then.